Hello friends. Well, you can see today I have some bread here. I'm not going to eat all this bread, but I put it there. You'll figure it out why it's there in just a few minutes, I'm sure. But I'll probably be going out today to get some more bread and head into the long weekend at the store. I'm thinking the lines will be way out the store and to pay as well later, but anyway, it's got to be done. So this is the 25th day. I saw something really interesting just a few minutes ago. I saw a father and his daughter walking down the street, each one with a bag of trash on their way down to the container to throw the trash out together. I've never seen that in my life before. Oh well, and the deaths just yesterday, the official deaths of the coronavirus were over 7,000, and over half of those were from France and the United States. And so it continues to move through the different countries, and anyway, those are the facts. Okay, well, today I'd like to look at the book of Ruth and the person of Ruth, but really not as much Ruth. I'd like to look at Naomi. So let me start reading in the book of Ruth chapter 1. I'd like to read verse 5 and 6. The Bible says, "And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. And the woman," that's Naomi, "was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread." And then, same chapter, but later on, verse 20, "And she said unto them, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me?" Okay, a very interesting journey in this story, and it's a very well-known story, small book, many messages and series on it, so I'm not going to try and put out anything new necessarily, but just do a bit of a review. This family left Israel during a miserable time in its history, time of the Judges. The phrase that happens right before the book of Ruth, the phrase right in front of the first words of Ruth are, "Every man did that which was right in his own eyes." And that's what Elimelech did as well, and Naomi. They did too. They left the promised land. They did what was right in their own eyes. The famine was a result of disobedience. Maybe not a direct factor, but pretty direct. Very clearly promised in Deuteronomy 28 several times in that chapter. It was one of the results of failing to obey the Lord in the promised land. They left Bethlehem, which you know is called, or means the house of bread, and they went looking for bread in Moab. Question, was it Elimelech's decision? Was it both of theirs decision? Was Naomi pushing the decision and saying, "Hey, we got to do something"? You never know. The dynamics of a married couple, you know, those of you who are married know what they are. It could have been him, could have been her, could have been both of them. We don't know. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. But they made that decision together and they left. They were gone for at least 10 years. And Naomi lost her husband and her 2 sons. So as she comes back, she is absolutely crushed. Have you ever had an event in your life that left you crushed? Well, she returned home. She started going home. Her life was over. The present was pure pain, and the future was unimaginable sadness. What a horrible, dark story. It was sort of like the prodigal son, though. She returned home. Now, her attitude wasn't perfect, but she did come back. She came back to Bethlehem from Moab. She was sad and bitter at what had happened. We read the verse a few minutes ago, "Call me Mara." And she did not expect to ever enjoy life again. Life was ruined. There was nothing good to look forward to. Much of the story plays on the meaning of her name. Naomi, pleasant, and what she wanted them to start calling her Mara, which was bitter. Now, however, she was a remarkable woman. She was very smart. She guided Ruth through the process of establishing a relationship with Boaz in a remarkable, astute way. She knew exactly how to guide Ruth through that situation. She was a strong woman, commanded respect, and she had Ruth's respect. And Ruth obeyed her and trusted her, even when it meant going way out of her comfort zone in a completely different culture to meet with and establish a relationship, friendship with a man completely unknown to her, really. So Naomi was quite a woman. Some other observations. This is, I don't know if I mentioned it before, the fact that both of her daughters-in-law planned on leaving their country and going back with her to her country. That's a statement. She must have been quite a woman. This is a story, it's a story of mercy, but not only of Ruth. It's a story of mercy towards Naomi as well. God, when she came back, God took care of her and blessed her immensely in the end. I see the Book of Ruth is sort of like a literary sandwich. The main character is Ruth, or Boaz. That's the main story, I guess you would say. But if you look at the book, it begins focusing on Naomi, and it ends focusing on Naomi. In fact, literally, Naomi's name is first in the book, before Ruth's, and Naomi's name is last in the book, after Ruth's. And so there's this kind of a sandwich thing. She is at the beginning and the end. Naomi was instrumental in establishing the line of the Messiah through Judah, as it was promised. She was part of that, part of making that happen. She was an instrument in God's hands. And then maybe you have experienced a Moab time. A time in your life far from God, far from His blessing. Maybe years, maybe 10 years, maybe longer than that. Maybe it wasn't entirely because of your decisions. It could have been the decisions of others. And you were just caught up in it. That makes it really, really hard. But nonetheless, you went through the Moab experience. You can always return. Your story does not have to end in Moab. We can always return to God and then wait for His mercy. It will come. His mercy and His grace will always come to the one who returns and repents. And so it's a tremendous story, beautiful, beautiful teaching. I'd like to end reading the last few verses in Ruth. Not absolute last, but almost the last verses in Ruth. And the women, very interesting what happens here. I don't even understand it all. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that His name may be famous in Israel. And He shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, who loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. Okay, so and then it says, and Naomi took the child, laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name. What? Since when do neighbors name your grandchild in this case? And gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. What a story. And so let me wrap it up with this little paragraph, and we'll leave it at that. Naomi leaves Bethlehem, the house of bread, for Moab. She loses everything before returning to Israel when she hears that God has visited his people with bread. He leads Ruth to a family member who definitely works in the bread business, whom she marries, and unwittingly becomes part of the family line of the Messiah, the bread of life. Only God could put together a story like that. Praise his name. Okay, God bless you. Have a great day. See you next time.